I want to prepare you for what to expect when you're interviewing. To manage your expectations, I want to give you a good picture of what's happening. First off, put aside any advice people have given you or giving you that are a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. If your parents are saying, hey, this is what you should do when you're interviewing, and the last time they interviewed was 30 years ago, don't listen to them. Well, listen to them, I'm a parent. Listen to them, but just, okay. But understand that's a bygone era. If your friends, colleagues, former coworkers left and were seeking a new job just a year ago, their experience is going to be so different than yours going into a pandemic or in a pandemic. And the reason I'm saying that is because you're going to go through one of the most arduous times in the job market since the Great Depression. This is worse than 9/11, the financial crisis, and I don't mean in the deaths and things of that nature. I'm talking about in terms of the job market, how challenging it is to get a job. Now, I'm not saying this to freak you out, to spook you, to scare you. Just the opposite. It's really all about managing expectations. If you go into the job search now thinking it's like it's always been, I'll send out resumes, get in touch with my network. I've always found jobs in the past. I don't even use recruiters. Usually companies will call me directly. Or people who are in HR know me, reach out and say, hey, do you want a job? Could that happen? Yes. Do I want you to think that's going to happen? No. You have to develop the understanding, the mindset that this is going to be a long-term, very challenging, difficult search. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope you go on your search and you find a job right away and you say, Jack, you have no idea what you're talking about. I'd be happy to hear that. But if that happens, that's good. If it doesn't happen, this is why you need this information. Because there's nothing that could hurt the chances of getting a job if you have misaligned expectations. If you think you're going to go into the job search and it's going to be like every other time period in the past where people know you, you send out a few resumes, you get a couple of offers, you negotiate to get the best offer, it's not going to be like that. Now, could it be for some people? Sure. But the odds are stacked against it. That's going to be the rarities. For most people, what's going to happen is this. You're going to send out resumes. You're going to fill out these long, glitchy applications that ask for too much personal data. You're going to submit it. And then you're going to wait and wait and wait. And you hear the crickets chirping and nothing happens. Then you try again. Same thing, and again and again and again. Now, I'm not saying companies are mean, nasty people. It's just that there's not as many jobs as people are looking for jobs. Companies are afraid to hire. There's uncertainty. We don't know when COVID will end. We don't know how it's going to end. We don't know if there'll be a second, third, fourth wave. So these companies, what I'm seeing, are hitting the brakes hard. And even though we don't want to hear this or acknowledge it, it makes sense. Because let's say you and I are on the board of directors of a company or senior executives. And we're reading the news like everyone else. We're watching the cable news like everyone else, talking to people. And what's the common denominator? We don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of fear. There's uncertainty. And when that happens, companies don't want to do things. Companies act when they're confident, when their view of the future is uplifting, where they feel if we hire people and if things are good and will be good, then we could hire people, we could start new divisions, launch new ventures, bring out new products, because there's this euphoria. You feel things are going to be great. It's a really interesting phenomenon. It's self-fulfilling. And then other companies look at their competitors and say, wow, all right, let's do it too. And before you know it, there's more hiring, there's more business, the economy improves. We're not in that space right now. Now, hopefully we get there. But right now we're in the space of let's just hunker down. That's why you've seen all these massive layoffs. from Disney, from every major corporation. You've seen all these bankruptcies for J.C. Penney, Hertz, Neiman Marcus, Brooks Brothers, J. Crew, Pier 1, Chuck E. Cheese, GNC. I can keep going on. The airlines laid off 30,000 people lately. I just wrote an article in Forbes about Exxon laying off thousands of people. It's across all sectors. And when that happens, it would take a very brave executive to say, in the face of all these layoffs, downsizings, hiring freezes, we're going to hire. Now, if you're Amazon, you probably are. If you're Apple, probably. Yeah, not probably, definitely. Netflix, Microsoft, Google, Zoom. Yeah, so they're the winners and losers in this market. So to put it in perspective, if you could work for one of these companies that are doing well, and there's a big bifurcation, you have a small group of companies, the Amazons of the world, the Googles of the world, the Facebooks of the world, that are doing really well. They're killing it in this market. Then you have everything else, hospitality, travel, leisure, restaurants, that just are just doing horrible. So it's also going to depend where you're going to look for a job. In the hotter areas, you have a better chance. But those are just a few handful that are really doing well. The vast majority, not so much. So what's going to happen on the search is you're not going to be picked up as much as you were in the past. You're not going to get as many calls. You're not going to get as many interview requests. When you do get interviews, it's not uncommon that you're not going to hear feedback. You get ghosted. You're not going to get constructive criticism when you go on a few interviews so you can improve. Recruiters may not get in touch with you because they're not getting the job orders. We talked about recruiters in another segment, and with recruiters, to remind you, they can only work for the most part on the jobs that they have. And if they don't have the jobs, there's nothing they can do. And most of them are compensated based on, hey, you get paid if only you place that person. If you don't place the person, you don't get paid. You don't get a commission. So recruiters, if they feel you don't have the right background, they're probably not going to get in touch with you or answer your calls or emails. And I'm not saying that's right, because they have to keep looking for people who are good for the jobs they have, for their own livelihood. So you won't really get as many recruiters calling you as you did in the past. You probably in the past also had friends in different companies that would hit you up and say, hey, I have a lead for you. That'll dry up a little bit. It still might be there, and that's a good way to get in, to tap into those resources. But they may not, because they're worried about their own jobs. The last thing they want to do is bring someone else new, or the last thing they want to do is nag their boss or HR to bring someone in when they know there's no hiring, there's firing, and they just want to keep a low profile and just keep hold of their job. It's not uncommon to interview and you think, yes, I got it. I'm going to get this job. And then nothing. Code silence. You don't hear back. They just ghost you. You email them, text them, call, nothing. It happens. It's terrible. It's really bad, but this happens. You're going to look online and see the jobs postings. We talked about this earlier. And a lot of them aren't real. A lot of them, they're just collecting resumes for when things get better. Or they just paid for the ads and they just leave them up, even though they're not hiring. Or they move in somebody internally and they just want to see, hey, is there someone else out there, but they're not serious. You're going to see in places like New York City and San Francisco, big cities, big hubs, that they're moving jobs out because it's more expensive to be there and putting them into lower cost cities and states. So for some people, it could be good in those other places where they're relocating. But the ones who are in New York, in Boston, in LA, in San Francisco, Chicago, that are high cost, high tax places, we see people leaving there and we see the jobs leaving there. So you can see less jobs. Now, I want to stop here because I don't want to make this very dire. I don't want to send the wrong message. It's really about managing expectations. And I wanted to treat it really seriously. That's why you can tell this somber tone, because I'm an optimist at heart and I think things will change. Because what I've seen over my career is the pendulum always swings very widely, both ways. And for now, the pendulum is on the fear side. It's fear, doom, gloom. But that can't last forever. in this country, as well as other countries, been through so much. But overcome adversity, overcome obstacles. And that's going to happen here. It's just a question of when. So the reason I'm giving you this picture is not to dissuade you from looking for a job, not to throw cold water on your job search, not to ruin your evening or whenever you're watching this, but to understand this is what you're getting into. This is what's going on. It's going to be cold. It's going to be harsh. People will be rude, inconsiderate. You'll get ghosted. You won't have feedback. They're going to make you jump through hoop after hoop after hoop and then forget about you. You're going to go on these emotional highs like a roller coaster. You're all the way up and then all the way down. I'm saying this so that when it happens to you, you don't think, oh my God, what's going on? What am I doing wrong? Who did I tick off? Are people out to get me? Am I blackballed from the industry? Is my boss sabotaging me? Are coworkers saying something negative? Is there someone at the company who has a grudge against me? You start thinking of all these things, and then it messes with your head. So when you want to interview in the future, you're carrying that baggage, and you can't interview well because now you're thinking, all right, I don't know, maybe they're going to sandbag me again. Maybe someone's going to say something negative again. It's just not going to work. And then you fall down this slippery slope and it's understandable. Think about it. If you keep on interviews, send resumes, send applications, you don't hear back, it's a very natural thing to say, hey, it got to be me. But trust me on this, and I'm not saying this to make you feel good. I'm just being very honest. It's not you. This is happening across the board. This is happening to almost everyone. And the reason I say almost everyone, as I pointed out, there's certain parts of the economy that's doing fine. There's certain parts of the economy that's doing amazingly well. So it's not everybody. So if you hear stories from them, you're going to say, Jack, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, those areas are doing well. The vast majority aren't. So you're mentally prepared. So when you hit these roadblocks, when you find yourself just not getting anywhere, when you keep getting rejected, don't take it personal. It's not you. This is what's happening now. And it's happening in a very small time period. Now you may say, well, it's small, we've been at this for 8 months. Yeah, but think about it. If you live to be 80, where it seems that our life expectancies is going much longer. So if you could live to 80, 85, 90, think about this. If it's 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, even a year, that sucks. In the scheme of things, that's a blip. And I know that's cold comfort, but I'm trying to put it into perspective. I'm trying to look for something to make it where it's not as bad as it may seem. So even though it's going to be a brutal time, it's going to change. The pendulum's going to swing back to more positivity. The wheels will start spinning again. Things will start moving. Jobs will start coming. So it's just hanging tough during this time. Be mentally, emotionally prepared for all the stuff you're going to confront. Don't take it personally. Take comfort in the fact that other people are going through it as well. In fact, my new startup, Recruiter, we have something called the We Meet Up Facebook group, and we have these We Meet Up Zoom calls where we put people together on a call to talk about just whatever issues are coming up, any kind of help they need with their job search, advice on their career. But a lot of times, most importantly, it's a way for people to commiserate with one another and then feel, oh, they look around on the Zoom call, see the different people, they all look normal and nice and smart and put together, and then realize, hey, this is not just me, everyone's going through this. And I watch it and I feel good in the sense that you could feel the relief. You could feel like that, hey, I was thinking it was me, my spouse was thinking it was me, my friends, family, they're all kind of looking at me askance, like, what's wrong? And now I feel better because I know we're all going through this. And there's something positive about that. In the midst of all the negativity, it's positive reassurance that you're not the only one. This is across the board. And that this will end eventually. We went through World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War, the Great Depression, the financial crisis, 9/11, and we keep getting out of it and keep getting better and keep growing. So it's going to happen again. So be mentally prepared for what you're going to go through. Don't let it get to you. It's going to hurt. I mean, let's not pretend. It's hard. When I say don't let it get to you, I know it's going to bother you. You can have good days and bad days, but as a whole, don't let it defeat you is probably something better. Don't let it defeat you. Hang in there. Stay strong. Keep moving forward. Keep trying, and it's going to happen. So it's going to be to manage your expectations. It's going to be a tough road, but you can do it. You can be strong. You can be tough, and you prevail in the long term. I hope this helps.